Some men only understand fear when it is standing right in front of them. A 350-pound bodyguard shoves a stocky stranger away from the velvet rope outside a Las Vegas nightclub. No ID, no entry. He pokes the man hard in the chest. Back of the line, nobody. 50 people go quiet. Someone whispers. Someone pulls out a camera. The bodyguard shoves him again, harder this time. The stranger slowly removes his hoodie. The face. The tattoo. The gap in the teeth. Mike Tyson. The crowd erupts. The bodyguard's smirk vanishes. His size suddenly means nothing. Tyson does not swing. He takes one step forward. The bodyguard stumbles backward and crashes over the velvet rope onto the sidewalk. 50 phones are recording. But what happened next turned one moment of shame into a nightmare that followed this man for years. If the story grips you, subscribe and follow for more. Now, before we get to what happened after that fall, you need to understand something about the man on the sidewalk. Because he did not end up there by accident. And the man who put him there did not show up by chance. There is a reason these two men met at that velvet rope. And it starts earlier that same night. His name was Derek Loomis. 6'4", 350 pounds. Hired 3 months earlier by a nightclub owner named Sal Marchetti to work the front door of one of the most exclusive clubs on the Las Vegas Strip. Sal had fired the previous bouncer because the man was, in Sal's words, too soft. He wanted someone who made people nervous just by standing there. Derek was that person. And believe me, Derek loved the job. Not because of the pay. The pay was average. He loved it because of the power. Every night, Derek stood behind that velvet rope and decided who got in and who did not. He pointed. He blocked. He shoved. He turned away men in $1,000 suits because he did not like the way they looked at him. He mocked women for wearing the wrong shoes. He made college kids empty their pockets and then told them they still were not getting in. And every time someone complained, Derek would lean in close, all 350 pounds of him, and say the same thing. Walk away, while you still can. Now here is the thing. Derek had never been in a real fight. Not once. He had never thrown a punch that landed on a man who was ready for it. His entire career, his entire identity was built on one thing. His size. He was big enough that nobody ever tested him. And because nobody ever tested him, he believed he was untouchable. That is a dangerous thing to believe in Las Vegas. That night, the line outside the club stretched 50 people deep. It was a Saturday. The strip was packed. High rollers, tourists, bachelor parties, locals trying to impress their dates. Everyone wanted in. And Derek was the wall between them and the door. He was in a bad mood. He had been on his feet for 4 hours. A group of college boys had argued with him earlier and he had shoved one of them hard enough to knock him into a parking meter. Nobody called the police. Nobody ever did. That was the power of the rope. Behind it, Derek was the law. Around midnight, Sal's voice crackled through Derek's earpiece. VIP coming tonight. No name yet. Just let him through when he shows. No questions. Derek barely listened. He was too busy turning away a couple who had driven 2 hours from Arizona. He told them their shoes were wrong. Their shoes were fine. He just liked saying no. Now get this. That earpiece was everything to Derek. Connected him to Sal. It connected him to the other security staff inside the club. It made him feel like he was part of something bigger. Like he was not just a man standing on a sidewalk. He was part of the machine. The earpiece gave him authority. Or at least it let him believe he had it. 30 minutes after Sal's message, a man approached the front of the line. He was stocky, 5'10", maybe 220 pounds. He was wearing a plain gray hoodie with the hood pulled up. No jewelry, no entourage, no flash. He walked with his hands in his pockets, head slightly down, straight toward the entrance. Derek stepped into his path. He put his hand flat against the man's chest. ID. The man stopped. He did not reach for a wallet. He did not speak. He just stood there, looking at Derek's hand on his chest. Derek pushed harder. You deaf? I said ID. No ID, no entry. Back of the line. The man did not move. And this is the part that matters. A smarter man would have noticed the crowd. A smarter man would have seen the way people in line were shifting. The way whispers were starting. The way phones were being pulled from pockets. Something was happening in that crowd that Derek could not see because he was too busy enjoying the one thing he was good at, pushing people around. He shoved the stranger backward. One hand. Full force. The man stumbled but did not fall. He straightened up. He still did not speak. Derek laughed. He looked at the crowd for approval. Nobody laughed with him. The line had gone quiet. 50 people staring. Not at the stranger. Derek. But Derek did not notice. He was already leaning in for the line he had used 100 times before. The line that always worked. The line that made small men walk away. What are you gonna do, short stuff? The crowd held its breath. And Derek Loomis, 350 pounds of borrowed authority, had no idea that he had just spoken his last words as the man he used to be. The stranger did not respond to the insult. He did not flinch. He did not step back. He reached up with both hands, slowly, and pulled the hoodie back off his head. And everything changed. The face was unmistakable. The tattoo curling around the left eye. The broad jaw. The gap between the front teeth. The thick neck that looked like it had been carved from concrete. Mike Tyson. The baddest man on the planet. The youngest heavyweight champion in the history of boxing. The man whose name alone had made grown men cross the street. He was standing 3 feet from Derek Loomis. And Derek had just shoved him. Twice. Now get this. Derek's body understood before his brain did. His hands dropped to his sides. His shoulders sagged. His mouth opened but nothing came out. 350 pounds of man, and every single ounce of it went hollow in a heartbeat. Because the thing about fear is that it does not care how big you are. When it arrives, it empties you from the inside out. The crowd erupted. Not for Derek. For Tyson. People were screaming. People were chanting. People were climbing over each other to get their phones aimed at the scene. Someone in the back yelled, "He just pushed Mike Tyson." Someone else yelled something worse. The booing started. Loud. 50 people turning on the man they had been afraid of all night. Because now there was someone in front of them who made Derek Loomis look like a child. Tyson did not speak. He did not clench his fists. He did not drop into a stance. He just looked at Derek. Steady. Calm. The way a man looks at something he has already decided is beneath his effort. His eyes were flat. Not angry. Not amused. Just still. And that stillness was worse than any punch. Derek took a half step backward. His heel found the base of the velvet rope stand. He did not notice. Then Tyson moved. 1 step forward. Just one. Not a lunge. Not a charge. A single, measured step. The kind of step a man takes when he wants you to know that the next one is up to you. Derek broke. His legs gave out. He stumbled backward, his full weight catching the velvet rope stand at the knees. The stand folded. The rope snapped free. And all 350 pounds of Derek Loomis went down. He hit the sidewalk back first. The rope collapsed across his chest. The metal base of the stand clanged against the concrete beside his head. The crowd exploded. Laughter. Screaming. Phones pushed forward from every angle. Every single second of it recorded. Derek lay on the sidewalk staring at the night sky with the velvet rope draped across him like a ribbon on a fallen gift. Tyson looked down at him. He shook his head once. Slowly. And then he spoke. 3 words. Now you know. He stepped over the rope. He stepped over Derek. And he walked through the front door of the club without looking back. Believe me, the silence that followed those 3 words lasted longer than it should have. The crowd was still recording, but the laughter had pulled back for a moment. Just a moment, because everyone on that sidewalk understood what they had just seen. A man whose entire world was built on being the biggest person in the room had just been dismantled by someone who did not even need to use his hands. Derek lay on the concrete. He could hear Sal's voice buzzing in his earpiece. Small, tinny, furious. That was the VIP, you idiot. That was the VIP. Derek reached up and pulled the earpiece out. He held it in his palm. The little piece of plastic that had made him feel like he was part of something felt like nothing now. People in the crowd were beginning to drift. Some went back to the line. Some walked away, replaying the video on their phones. A few stood over Derek, still recording, waiting for him to get up so they could capture that too. Derek did not get up. Not right away. He lay there for a long time, staring at the sky, listening to the last of the laughter fade. Then, slowly, he pushed himself up. He stood. He brushed the dust off the back of his pants. He picked up the velvet rope stand and set it upright. He clipped the rope back into place. And he stood behind it again, hands at his sides, jaw tight, eyes straight ahead. For a moment, it almost looked like nothing had happened. The rope was back. The bodyguard was back. The line reformed. A few people whispered, but most of them just wanted to get into the club. The night moved on, and Derek told himself it was over. He told himself this was a bad moment, nothing more. By morning, nobody would remember. People would move on. He would move on. It was just a bad night. Just one bad night. He almost believed it. Derek woke up the next morning on his couch, still in his work clothes, still wearing his boots. His phone was on the floor beside him. It was buzzing, not ringing, buzzing, over and over. A steady pulse that had been going on long enough to push the phone halfway across the carpet. He picked it up. 37 missed calls. Over 200 text messages. He opened the first one. It was from his cousin. 2 words. Check online. Derek opened his browser. And in that moment, the nature of everything changed. The video was everywhere. Not one video. Dozens. 50 different angles of the same 90 seconds. His face. His shove. Tyson's hoodie coming off. The step. The fall. The velvet rope draped across his chest. The laughter. Every angle. Every second. Captured and uploaded by 50 phones before Derek had even stood back up from the sidewalk. Now here is the thing. In 1997, the internet was not what it is today. There was no social media the way we know it now. But there were forums. There were email chains. There were entertainment websites. And on every single one of them that morning, the number one topic was the same. A 350-pound bodyguard who tried to bounce Mike Tyson and ended up on his back on a Las Vegas sidewalk. The video had been uploaded under dozens of different titles. Bouncer pushes wrong guy. Bodyguard versus Mike Tyson. Instant karma. 350 pounds of stupid. But the one that stuck. The one that spread fastest. The one that would follow Derek Loomis for the rest of his life. The man who tried to bounce Mike Tyson. By 8 in the morning, it had been viewed over 2 million times. By noon, it was on television. Local news picked it up first. Then national. Then the late-night hosts got their hands on it. Derek Loomis became the joke of the week. Not just in Las Vegas. Everywhere. And then the phone call came. Not from his cousin. Not from a friend. From Sal Marchetti. Sal did not waste time. You are done. Do not come back. Do not call. Do not come to the club. You are finished. Derek tried to explain. He told Sal he did not know it was Tyson. He told Sal the hoodie hid the man's face. Sal said one thing before he hung up. I told you a VIP was coming. You did not listen. That is on you. The line went dead. And just like that, the earpiece, the velvet rope, the door, the power, all of it was gone. Believe me, a smarter man would have gone quiet. A smarter man would have disappeared for 6 months and let the internet find its next target. But Derek was not a smart man. Derek was a proud man. And proud men do not hide. They fight back. Even when fighting back is the worst thing they can do. Derek called a local television station. He told them he wanted to tell his side of the story. The producer could not say yes fast enough. They scheduled the interview for the following afternoon. Derek thought this was his chance. He thought if people heard his version, they would understand. They would sympathize. maybe even feel sorry for him. He was wrong. The interview aired live. Derek sat in a chair across from the host. He was wearing a clean shirt. He had shaved. He looked presentable. For the first 30 seconds, it went fine. Derek explained he was just doing his job. He explained the man had no ID. He explained the hoodie covered the face. Then the host played the video on a screen behind Derek's head. The studio audience laughed. Derek heard it. His face changed. His jaw tightened. His hands gripped the armrests. The host asked, "Looking back, what would you do differently?" And Derek said the thing that destroyed him. He got lucky. If it happened again, it would be different. The audience gasped. The host raised an eyebrow. And by the time Derek drove home that evening, the clip of him saying he got lucky was already spreading faster than the original video. A second wave of mockery hit, harder than the first, because now Derek was not just the man who got humiliated by Tyson. He was the man who got humiliated by Tyson and then went on television and claimed Tyson got lucky. The internet did not forgive that. The internet never forgives that. New headlines, new jokes, new nicknames. Someone edited the video so that every time Derek fell, a cartoon sound effect played. Someone else created a side-by-side comparison of Derek saying, "It would be different" next to the footage of him crashing over the rope. It was viewed 4 million times in 2 days. Derek stopped leaving his apartment. His phone kept buzzing. But the names on the screen were changing. The people who used to call him were no longer calling. His friends from the club scene stopped answering. The guys he used to work out with at the gym stopped inviting him. One by one, the people who had treated Derek like a big man when he stood behind that rope disappeared now that the rope was gone. He sat in his apartment, alone. The television was off. The phone was face down on the table. And for the first time in his life, Derek Loomis was not the biggest person in the room. He was the smallest, because the room was empty, and a man alone with his mistakes has nothing to hide behind. Not a rope, not an earpiece, not a single thing. 3 months passed, and in those 3 months, Derek Loomis became a ghost. He moved out of his apartment because he could not afford the rent. He was sleeping on a couch in his brother Ray's house in Henderson, 20 minutes outside Las Vegas. Ray was a quiet man, a construction worker. He did not follow the internet. He did not watch entertainment news. When Derek showed up at his door with 2 duffel bags and a face full of shame, Ray just opened the door and pointed to the couch. He did not ask what happened. He already knew. Derek avoided the strip entirely. He could not walk past a nightclub without someone recognizing him. People shouted the nickname from car windows. Strangers at gas stations pulled out their phones and started recording when they saw him, hoping he would react so they could get a fresh clip. Derek kept his head down. He stopped making eye contact with people. 350 pounds, and he was trying to be invisible. He applied for security jobs at other clubs. Nobody would hire him. His name was Poison. One manager told him directly, "You are a liability. Nobody wants to be the place that hired the guy who got stepped over by Tyson." Another manager laughed in his face and said, "Can you even stand up when someone walks toward you?" Derek left that interview without responding. He sat in his car in the parking lot for an hour before he could drive. Now here is the thing. During all of this, Ray said almost nothing. He let Derek sleep on his couch. He let him eat his food. He let him sit in silence for hours at a time staring at the wall. Ray was not a man who pushed. He waited. But one morning, over coffee, Ray set his mug down and looked at Derek across the kitchen table. And he said something that hit harder than anything the internet had thrown at him. He said, "You are not mad at Tyson. You are mad because 50 people saw who you really are." Derek did not respond. He picked up his coffee. He took a sip. He set it back down. And he said nothing for the rest of the morning. But believe me, those words stayed. They sat in his chest like a stone he could not swallow. A week later, Derek was driving through a strip mall in Henderson when he saw a small gym tucked between a laundromat and a tire shop. The sign was hand-painted, faded red letters on a whiteboard. Cortez Boxing. The windows were dusty. The door was propped open with a cinder block. Derek did not know why he stopped. He did not plan to. His foot just came off the gas and his hands turned the wheel. He walked inside. The gym was small. 1 ring. 3 heavy bags. A speed bag in the corner. The floor was concrete with rubber mats laid in patches. The walls were covered in old fight posters and photographs of young men with their gloves raised. A man was sitting on a folding chair near the ring. He was old. 70 at least. Small. 5'5". His hands were thick and scarred from decades of rapping fighters. His name was Manny Cortez. He had trained boxers for 40 years. Never produced a champion. Never cared about that. He cared about the work. Manny looked up at Derek. He did not stand. He looked at him the way a man looks at a stray dog that just walked in from the rain. Then he said, "You are the one from the video." Derek turned to leave. "I did not say you should go," Manny said. "I said I know who you are. There is a difference." Derek stopped in the doorway. He stood there for a long moment. Then he turned back around. He stayed. Manny did not go easy on him. Not for a single day. He put Derek on the heavy bag and watched him throw punches that had no form, no technique, no foundation. Derek swung wild. He gassed out in 2 minutes. He could not skip rope for 30 seconds without tripping. 350 pounds of man, and he could not last 1 round against a bag that did not hit back. And that was the truth Derek had been running from. He was not tough. He had never been tough. His whole life, his size had spoken for him. He had never needed to learn how to fight because nobody had ever made him. He had never needed to take a punch because nobody had ever thrown one. Behind the velvet rope, none of that mattered. In Manny's gym, it was the only thing that mattered. Weeks passed. Derek came every day. He lost weight. He learned to keep his hands up. He learned to move his feet. He learned to breathe. Manny did not praise him. Manny corrected him. Over and over. Hands up. Chin down. Move your feet. Again. Again. But here is the thing. The training was not the payoff. The payoff came on a Tuesday evening. Late. The gym was empty. Manny had gone home. Derek was alone, standing in front of the full-length mirror on the wall beside the heavy bags. He was wrapping his hands. Slowly. Methodically. The way Manny had taught him. He looked at himself in that mirror. Not at his body. At his face. At his eyes. And he said it out loud. To himself. To the empty gym. To the mirror that could not look away. I was a bully. That is all I was. A bully hiding behind a rope. And I picked the wrong man. He did not shout it. He did not whisper it. He said it the way a man says something he has known for a long time but has not had the courage to speak. That is the confrontation. Not with Tyson. Not with the internet. Not with Sal or the cameras or the crowd. With himself. The title of this story promised a man who picked the wrong person. And the payoff is not that Tyson put him on the ground. The payoff is that Derek Loomis finally understood why he deserved it. He sat down on the gym bench. He pulled out his phone. He opened the video. He watched it. All the way through. The shove. The hoodie. The step. The fall. The laughter. Tyson's 3 words. He watched every second of it. And for the first time, he did not feel anger. He did not feel shame. He felt relief. Because the man on that sidewalk, the man behind that rope, the man who shoved a stranger and called him nobody, that man was gone. And Derek did not miss him. If this story is keeping you here, take a moment to subscribe and follow. It means more than you know. Now let me tell you how this ends. 6 months after the night at the Velvet Rope, Derek Loomis drove back to the Las Vegas Strip. He had not been there since the video. He had avoided it the way a man avoids a place where he lost something he cannot get back. But that morning, he woke up on Ray's couch and knew it was time. He did not go to the club. He parked across the street from it. He turned off the engine and sat in the car with the windows down. The afternoon sun was hitting the pavement hard. The club was closed. The lights were off. But the Velvet Rope was still there, clipped between 2 brass stands. Red. Clean. Exactly where it had always been. A new bodyguard stood behind it. He was young, tall, bigger than Derek. He had the same posture, the same wide stance, the same arms folded across the chest. He was not working the door yet. The club would not open for hours, but he was already standing there, already practicing the look, already rehearsing the power. Derek watched him for a long time. He watched the way the man shifted his weight, the way he looked at people walking past on the sidewalk, the way his chin lifted slightly when someone glanced in his direction. Derek recognized every single gesture. He used to do the same thing, every night, for 3 months, until a man in a gray hoodie showed him what all of it was worth. He did not get out of the car. He did not need to. He had seen enough. He started the engine and drove home. That night, Derek sat at Ray's kitchen table. Ray was already asleep. The house was quiet. Derek pulled a piece of paper from a drawer and a pen from the cup beside the phone. And he wrote a letter. It was addressed to Mike Tyson. He did not have an address. He did not plan to send it. He just needed to put the words somewhere outside of his own head. The letter was short. Said he was sorry. Not for blocking the door. For the words. For the shove. For poking a man in the chest and calling him nobody. He wrote that he had spent his entire life believing his size made him someone. That night on the sidewalk he learned it did not. He wrote that Tyson did not ruin his life. Tyson showed him what his life already was. He wrote that the worst part was not the fall. It was the laughter. Because the people laughing were the same people who had been afraid of him 5 minutes earlier. And that meant the respect he thought he had was never respect at all. It was fear. And fear leaves the moment someone bigger walks in. He signed it. He folded it. He put it in the inside pocket of his jacket. He never mailed it. He carried it with him for years. Not because he was waiting for the right moment to send it. Because the letter was never for Tyson. It was for himself. A reminder of the man he used to be and the promise he made to never be that man again. 2 weeks later, Manny offered Derek a job at the gym. Not as a trainer. Manny would never let him train fighters. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The job was sweeping floors, wiping down equipment, mopping the ring between sessions, restocking the tape and the wraps. Paid almost nothing. Derek took it the same day without a single question. He showed up every morning at 6. He swept. He mopped. He cleaned. And between shifts he trained. Manny watched. Manny corrected. Manny never praised. But Manny never left either. And for Derek, that was enough. One afternoon, a kid walked through the door. He was 15, big for his age, overweight. His shoulders were hunched. His fists were clenched. His mother stood behind him with her arms crossed and her eyes tired. She told Manny her son had been expelled from school for fighting. She told him this was the last option. Manny looked at the kid for a long time. Then he looked at Derek. He nodded once. Manny paired them together. The kid did not want to be there. He shoved the heavy bag and called the gym a dump. He told Derek he did not need some washed-up bouncer telling him what to do. He said he could handle himself. He said he was not afraid of anyone. Derek sat down on the bench. He did not react. He did not raise his voice. He waited. And when the kid ran out of words, Derek looked at him and said, "You remind me of someone." The kid crossed his arms. "Who?" "Me. About 6 months ago. Sit down. Let me tell you what happened." And Derek told him. All of it. The rope. The shove. The hoodie. The step. The fall. The video. The nickname. The interview. The mirror. He told the kid every detail without sparing himself. He did not make excuses. He did not soften it. He told the truth the way Manny had taught him to throw a punch. Clean. Straight. All the way through. The kid listened. He did not interrupt. When Derek finished, the kid was quiet for a long time. Then he reached down, picked up the hand wraps from the bench and held them out. "Show me how to put these on." Derek took the wraps. He sat the kid down, and he began wrapping his hands. Slowly, carefully, the way Manny had shown him. The gym was quiet. The afternoon light was coming through the dusty windows. Manny stood in his office doorway, arms folded, watching. He nodded once. Just once. Derek's jacket hung on a hook by the door. The letter was still in the pocket, folded, and signed by anyone but him. A conversation with himself that he carried every day. Not as punishment, as proof. Proof that a man can fall in front of the whole world and still get back up. Not the same man. A better one. Some men only understand fear when it is standing right in front of them. Derek Loomis met his fear on a sidewalk in Las Vegas. It was not Mike Tyson. It was never Mike Tyson. It was the man he had been his entire life. A man who mistook size for strength and fear for respect. And on that sidewalk, in front of 50 phones and one velvet rope, that man finally fell. And a better one eventually stood up.